underline a word, and therefore, based on the conduct of the four, on this particular thing, I want us to underline whether they advance national unity or not. Article 19.2 of the Constitution. I'll jump to Article 73 of the Constitution provides for responsibilities of leadership. Under Clause 1A, the Constitution provides that the authority assigned to the state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office and promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. Clause 2 therefore provides for the guiding principles of leadership and integrity to include selection on the basis of personal integrity, competence, and suitability. I refer you, Honorable Chair, to one Nancy Barasa. Her conduct at Village Market indeed offended the conduct of the public officer. The Constitution defines, I believe, in 260 B, and therefore we must never be shy to ask this Constituent Assembly to police these guidelines thereabout. Article 73 2BC contains provisions on the guiding principles and integrity to include inter alia, objectivity, and impartiality in decision making. Here I underline the word impartiality. Whether the four that I seek their removal exercise impartiality in their conduct, and in ensuring that decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favoritism, and improper motives or corrupt practices. Here I therefore underline favoritism, improper motives, and corrupt practices. And selfless service based on the public interest, demonstrated by honesty in execution of the public duties. 2, declaration of any personal interest that may conflict with public duties. Article 75 provides that a state officer shall behave, whether in public and official life, in private, or in association with other persons, in a manner that avoids any conflict between personal interest, public, and official duties. I will jump to Article 232.1 on values and principles of public service. Provides inter alia that the values and principles of public service include high standards of professional ethics, transparency, and provision to public of timely and accurate information. Article 49 of the Constitution of Kenya provides the objects of the commissions and the independent officers are to protect sovereignty of the people of Kenya, secure observance of all state organs of democratic values and principles, promote constitutionalism. Honorable Chair, constitutionalism is something that this assembly must be concerned about. It has been a thinking and a theory that is lacking. And constitutionalism is the thinking, theorizing about the Constitution. It's a creation of a civilization that is administrated by the Constitution. And therefore, in the absence of constitutionalism, we can therefore say that somebody is offensive, uncivilized, unguided, opaque, thuggish, is a menace to society. If there's no constitutionalism in the act and the conduct of any state officer, therefore they seek to be one way or the other looked differently from anything that advances this nation. Article 249 provides further that the holders of and the commissions and holders of independent officers are only subject to the Constitution and the law and are independent and not subject or direction or control of any person. Honorable Chair, here I underline whether the four were in control of any other person rather than the Constitution. Article 251, which is the anchor to this petition, and allow me to read it, Honorable Chair, it's within my time. 251. And in the morning I followed a bit your discourse and somebody was trying to define whether you have jurisdiction or not. 251, removal office. A member of the commission other than an ex-officio member or the holder of an independent office may be removed from office only for serious violations of the Constitution or any other law, including a contravention of Chapter 6, gross misconduct, which this petition is premised on, whether in the performance of the members of office holders' functions or otherwise, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of office, incompetence also, which this petition is based upon. 2, a person desiring the removal of the member of this commission or of a holder or any independent office or on any grounds specified in clause 1 may present a petition to the National Assembly setting out the alleged facts constituting that ground, which I have done. Honorable Chair, I need to draw back a comment I had that every petition needs to be anchored or supported by an affidavit. Under Section 3K of the Petitions to Parliament procedure, Act number 2212 reads, a petition shall not have any letters, affidavits, or any documents annexed to it. And therefore, this petition meets the threshold for consideration to this House, Honorable Chair. And therefore, on receiving the petition under clause 3, the President may do the following. However, I pray that 251(6) shall be considered thereabout. I'm not reading because of the time. I go to the second aspect, and that is the Leadership and Integrity Act number 19 of 2012. I will also cherry pick. Section 8 provides that the state office is a position of trust, and the authority and responsibility vested in a state officer shall be exercised by the state officers in the best interest of the people of Kenya. We underline whether the 4 acted in the best interest of the people of Kenya. Section 9 provides that a state officer shall, to the best of the ability, carry out the duties of the office efficiently and honestly. Therefore, I underline whether they were honest. Honest is a value that is enshrined in the Constitution and therefore establishes the civilization of constitutionalism. In a transparent, I underline transparency, and accountable manner. Keep accurate records, whether the records they were citing were accurate, and documents relating to the functions of the officer, and report truthfully on all matters of the organization which they represent. Therefore, that organization being IEBC. Section 16 on the provisions of conflict of interest provides, among other things, that a public officer shall use their best efforts to avoid being in a situation where personal interests conflict or appear with the state officer's official duties. Section 29 states that a state officer shall not knowingly give false or misleading information to any person. I go to my third constitutional basis, which is the Public Officers Ethics Act number 4, 2003. I read Section 8 that provides that a public officer shall, to the best of his ability, carry out his duties and ensure that the services that he provides are provided efficiently and honestly. Again, we underline the term honest, whether the 4 were honest enough. Section 10 provides that a public officer shall carry out his duties in accordance with the law, constitutionalism again, and in carrying out the said duties, they shall not violate the rights and freedoms of any person under the Constitution. Section 16 provides that a public officer shall not, in or in connection with the performance of his duties as such, act as an agent for or so as to further the interest of a political party, or indicate support for opposition to any political party or candidate in an election. Section 16 provides critical basis on why this section would implicate the 4, Honorable Chair. The section further provides that a public officer shall not engage in political activity that may compromise or be seen to compromise the political neutrality of his office. Section 17 provides that a public officer shall not practice nepotism or favoritism. Again, here I underline favoritism. Honorable Chair, I go to the 4th constitutional peg, which is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act number 9 of 2011. The IEBC Act, Section 9 requires that all members of the IEBC, including the chairperson, to take and subscribe an oath of office and affirmation before assuming office. Relevant part of the oath states, I read, I will at all times obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, that I will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge the trust and perform the functions and exercise of powers devolving upon me by virtue of this appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. All the commissioners took this oath. Honorable Chair, Section 26 of the IEBC Act affirms the independence of the IEBC. 8 provides that the IEBC shall, in performance to its functions, not be subject to control of any person or authority, but shall observe the principle of participation and the requirement of the consultation with various stakeholders. Section 30 of the IEBC Act, and this is extremely important, provides that a member of the Commission who knowingly, this is premeditated, subverts the process of free and fair elections, or who knowingly obstructs the Commission in its discharge or its function, or otherwise interferes with the functions of the Commission, commits an offense. That is why we are here. And is liable to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 3 years, or to a fine, or not more than, I read that. Honorable Chair, I want to come now to the functum of this petition. Statement of facts. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides that the general elections of members of parliament, which is Article 101, the president, which is Article 136(2)(2), members of county assembly, which is Article 177A, and governors, which is Article 180, shall be held on the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. The Constitution of Kenya bestows upon the IEBC the duty to conduct the general elections. The constitutional framework is reinforced by an array of legislation whose objective is to guarantee fairness, objectivity, credibility, and legitimacy of the electoral process. Early in the year 2022, the IEBC commenced its preparations. I'm reading just a chronology a bit, then I get into the details. Early in the year, the IEBC commenced the preparations of the 2022 general elections. The IEBC held pressers and issued press statements in connection, and by way of updates on the general elections, the statements of IEBC were conducted mostly in the presence of all members of the Commission. There was a consensus. The preparations of the general elections was completed, and the general elections was held on the 9th of August, 2022. The general elections in some parts of the country were held and completed on the same day of August 2022, 9th of August 2022, and the Commission, through its various agents, proceeded with the process of verification and tallying in the various polling stations for the election of MCA, MP, governor, and the elections were announced on the same day, while others delayed to later dates. The elections of the president were tallied at the polling stations on the same day of the elections and were transmitted to the NTC, the National Tallying Center, for verification and tallying. All the members of the Commission were present, Honorable Chair. That needs to be underlined. And took part in the tallying process and the verification of the presidential votes cast. I was there in person and I saw that. This is in accordance with the responsibility placed on the Commission collectively under Article 138(3)(c) of the Constitution. During the tallying and the verification of the results for the election of the president, all commissioners actively participated in the verification of the results at the NTC. In fact, they took turns in announcing the results as verified and tallying, and they were all present during the actual verification at the National Tallying Center. Honorable Chair, I was present to witness this. The verification and the tallying process continued without any hitch until the fateful day of 15th of August 2022, when the election results for the election of the president were expected to be announced. On the 15th of August, between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. at the NTC, the National Tallying Center, where the results of the president were to be announced, violence broke out, but were immediately quelled by the security forces present. I was there, Honorable Chair. Just before the chairperson of IEBC could declare the presidential election results pursuant to Article 138(10), the Constitution, four commissioners of the IEBC, namely Juliana Cherera, the vice chair of the IEBC, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, and Justus Nyangae held a presser at the Serena Hotel, Nairobi, announcing their rejection of the yet-to-be-announced results on the grounds that they were opaque due to the manner the chairperson of IEBC had been conducting the verification and the tallying exercise. The 4 commissioners complained that they were excluded, contrary to witnesses, from the tallying and verification process of the presidential elections at the NTC. They also complained that they have been assigned peripheral roles that were not connected to the tallying and the verification process. The walkout of the 4 commissioners from the NTC, the National Tallying Center, and the various press statements casted doubts on the credibility of the elections of the results of the general elections, despite having been present at the NTC for the verification and tallying of the presidential results. They did not offer explanations as to why they had, in the first place, been part of the process of verification and tallying of the presidential results if they knew it was opaque, despite having admitted that the elections had been managed effectively and efficiently. The petitioners in the 2022 elections, in the 2022 election petition, anchored their petitions on the pressers by the 4 commissioners of the IEBC at the Serena. Therefore, the conduct of these 4 commissioners set into play permutations that then were established as the basis of the petition and the contested presidential elections. 242, but we are, this is in fact the Supreme Court held that in its judgment, which I have. But are we to nullify an election on the basis of a last-minute boardroom rupture, the details of which remain scanty and contradictory between the chairperson of the commission and some of its members? In the absence of any evidence of violation of constitution and our electoral laws, how can we upset an election in which the people have participated without hindrance, as they made their political choices pursuant to Article 38 of the Constitution? To do so would be tantamount to subjecting the sovereign will of the Kenyan people to the quorum antics of IEBC. This is important, Chairman, for you to hear, honorable members. It will set a dangerous precedent. This is the Supreme Court that alluded to this. It will set a dangerous precedent on the basis of which the fate of a presidential election would precariously depend on a majority vote of the IEBC commissions. This we cannot do. Clearly, the current dysfunctionality of the presidential election petition number 005 of 2022, consolidated with the PEP number 001, 002, E001, E002, E003, E004, E005, and E008 of 2022, page 104 of 133, Commission impugns the state of its corporate governance, but did not affect the conduct of the election itself. The press statements by the 4 commissioners had the following effects. A, it called into question the credibility of the entire elections held. It formed the basis of the presidential petitions held by the petitioners in PEP 005 2022, consolidated with PEP number E001, E003, E004, E007, and E008 of 2022. Here and after PEP of number E005 of 2022. C, due to the closely contested elections, the pressers by the 4 commissioners reasonably inflamed the violence at NTC and rest around the country, and a threat to peace, stability, and security of the entire country. The conduct of the 4 commissioners set permutations that infringed or inflamed on the fragility of this country. And therefore, Honorable Chair, you and I would not be sitting here exercising our democratic rights in peace, because this country, indeed, if God did not stand forth, we would be refugees in another country. 63. The Supreme Court, in considering the evidence presented to it, during the hearing of the consolidated presidential election petition 22 found that 1, all the 4 commissioners were involved in the activities relating to the processing of the results. These are the findings of the judgment. 2, the 4 commissioners did not controvert the evidence that they announced results from several constituencies upon them being verified and tallied. They did not deny the truth. 3, the 4 commissioners actively participated in the verification, tallying exercise from the beginning up to and until just before the declaration of the results by the chairperson. This is an important chronology that indicates that there was a conflict of interest thereby, and various articles and instruments and sections of the Constitution were offended. It is paramount for the National Assembly to consider the averments of the chairperson in his affidavit in response to the consolidated election petition. Importantly, it is also worth noting that the Supreme Court could not make a finding or any determination on the conduct of the 4 commissioners because of their jurisdictional limit under Article 140. The Supreme Court was limited in investigating the conduct of the 4 commissioners. Therefore, Honorable Chair, this assembly is critical in investigating this aspect, so that then we can set in play proper discourse and reforms so that this country can be safe. This, as I'm going to read, is the affidavit of the chairperson in a successful judgment that was rendered by the Supreme Court. It is important for this to be considered. It is important for you to approve this petition so that the chair himself will be able to give this evidence. Therefore, and this affidavit was taken under oath. The chairperson stated in the affidavit in response to the presidential election petitions sworn on and dated 26 August 2022, stated as follows: that I have the same affidavit, that at about 3 a.m. in the morning of 15 August 2022, I was visited by Honorable Raphael Tuju, Senator Amos Wako, and Advocate Kyalo Mbobo. They indicated that they had made several attempts to see me to discuss the tallying and results. I told them that I could only meet them in the presence of the commissioners. That shortly after all the commissioners joined us, and Senator Wako was the first to speak, his message was that the commission should not operate in a vacuum and that it must consider the link between the election results to be declared and the stability of the country, which he described to be the bigger picture. He proceeded to indicate that his tenure as the AG, he was the election supervisor and would moderate results guided by the need to achieve law and stability. Indeed, that statement is offensive to the Constitution. It shows that the aspect of the independence of the commission was hard. That Honorable Raphael Tuju spoke after Senator Wako. He indicated that it was necessary for the results to be moderated in favor of Baba, and that any contrary declaration of results would plunge the country into chaos. As an alternative, he suggested that in the event that it was not possible to declare Baba as the president-elect, then the commission should force a runoff. For this, he indicated that should his request be granted, it would be adequately rewarded. That Mr. Kyalo Mbulu did not make any remarks at the meeting. That having heard the statements of Honorable Tuju and Senator Wako, I invited the commissioners, this is verbatim, I invited the commissioners to comment. Commissioners Juliana Cherera, Justus Nyangaya, Irene Masit, and Francis Wanderi agreed with the remarks of both Senator Wako and Honorable Tuju. Professor Abdi Gulie took the view that they did not even know the results by then, and that the issue could not fall for discussion. A view that was shared by Commissioner Molu and the CEO. On my part, I took the firm view that I will respect the will of the people and announce the results as per the final tally from all polling stations. As regards the incentive, it is absolutely important that this committee and this assembly approves and consider this petition so that we can get to know the intricacies of some of these things, like an incentive. What was it? Where was it coming from? Is it taxpayers' money? How much was it? What were the promises about? You know, where was this incentive discussed? By who at what particular time? Honorable Chair, this committee and this assembly owes Kenyans an opportunity to listen to the truth, and therefore the tribunal is absolutely important. As regards the incentive, I was categorical that I am adequately remunerated and do not want anything from anyone. Professor Gulia and Commissioner Molu supported this view. The team left at about an hour. That on the same morning at about 10 a.m., I was informed by Professor Gulia that a team from the National Security Advisory Committee, the NSAC, had arrived at the tallying center and wanted to meet me. I later learned that they had arrived and gone to the office of Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Nugabo, who in turn relayed the message to Commissioner Professor Gulia. That the arrival of NSAC delegation was preceded by a call from the head of public service, Mr. Kenya, informing me that he has sent a team that would discuss, quote, assumption of office. I was still engaged in my duties as returning officer and was unable to meet them immediately due to ongoing engagement, and that had to be completed within the limited time available. I indicated that I would only be able to meet them alongside the other commissioners at 2 p.m. when a commission meeting had been scheduled. That shortly after 2 p.m., the commissioners and I had a meeting to be briefed on the final results of the commission, secretary and CEO, and alternate leader of the tallying center. The briefing was to be done before the declaration in accordance to Article 138.10 of the Constitution. Since the NSAC delegation had already been ushered in, we proceeded to listen to this message first. Kenyans, of course, are wondering how close we were to deep trouble. I want to remind you, Chair, that this was the same way that Mali went, and other nations today that have constitutional disorder, and it will take them years before they get back to constitutional order. That it would have been impossible for every father to take care of his sons or love the wife. That the meeting with the NSAC delegation started with a round of introduction. The delegation was led by Mr. Kennedy Kihara, Principal Administrative Secretary at the Office of the President. The other participants were Mr. Kennedy Ogeto, Solicitor General, Mr. Hilary Mutiambai, Inspector General of Police, and Lieutenant General Francis Omondi Ogola, the Vice Chair of the Defense Forces. That after introductions, Mr. Kennedy Kihara reiterated that the team was visiting on behalf of the entire NSAC, and that the composition of the members in attendance had been deliberately chosen, considering the magnitude of the message to be passed to us. That after drawing our attention to their level and rank, of course, this is intimidation. They walked in and they pulled ranks to, of course, intimidate the commission and the commissioners. And indeed, they painted that this was a formal government exercise. And that's the reason why they did pull ranks. Mr. Kennedy Kihara proceeded to relay the message. The message was that if I declare the final election results with Honorable William Samoei Ruto as the president-elect, the country is going to burn. He proceeded to indicate that skirmishes between Kikuyu and Luo communities had already started in several slums, including Kibra and Mathare, on the basis of alleged betrayal by Kikuyus. From security reports, this is false. However, from 1990s and all the way to 2007, we have seen that electoral violence is what we call, it falls under organized crimes. It is mobilized to achieve a certain end that is political. We need to know this truth. It's absolutely imperative that the tribunal is established because we owe Kenyans the truth. And even the implicated will have the opportunity to a fair hearing because the tribunal is a quasi-judicial aspect. That Mr. Kihara proceeded to caution that if we proceeded with declaration of the results with Honorable Ruto as the president-elect and chaos erupt, then the blood of the dead Kenyans will be on our hands, and that the 7 of us commissioners will be held responsible. Honorable Chair, you and I are here. The Kikuyu and the Luo communities have not shed any blood. Essentially, the falsification and the intimidation of the commission was something that was uncalled for. That the second part of the message from the NSAC delegation was that if we cannot announce Honorable Raila Odinga as the outright winner, then we must ensure that there is a runoff. These are the real Kamagos. Honorable Chair, I posit to you that this assembly, if then it doesn't ratify this petition, then the further bleeding of Kenyans will be upon this commission, because it is imperative for democratic reforms to be established that we may enjoy peace. And thank God, for the first time in many years, there was no bullet that was shot to achieve electoral or political expediency. That only Mr. Kennedy Kiara spoke at the meeting, and as he concluded his remarks, indicated that he wanted from us a message that he could take back to the National Security Advisory Committee. That after Mr. Kiara concluded his remarks, I invited the colleagues, the commissioners, to share their views. This is absolutely important to listen to. Commissioner Nyangaya Masit Wanderi and the Vice Chairperson Cherera were first to comment and said that the message warrants serious consideration and that they supported adoption of the communication by the NSAC before taking a decision as to the results to be announced. There, that after the remarks of the first four commissioners, Commissioner Professor Gulie weighed in, and his view was that the commission has a constitutional mandate, and that in declaring the results, it will be guided by the same constitution applicable law. He nonetheless indicated that we had had them. Commissioner Molu expressed the position that he will support the declaration of verified results by the returning officer of the presidential election. In future, from this committee and from this house, it must be imperative that the architecture of reforms going forward must prevent the tampering of the NTC, the National Tallying Center, by the Inspector General of Police, by the SG, by any rank and force of the country, and that the independence and the innocence of the NTC must be protected. They have no role in the election process, and that it is only IEBC that has a constitutional mandate. That after the NSAC had left, the Commission Secretary Chief Executive Officer was also the alternative team leader of the Tallying Center, Majan Hussein Majan, walked into the boardroom. The purpose of the meeting was to receive final tally of the results of the presidential election before I could proceed to declare that copies of the results were handed to the commissioners. A debate ensued. 4 commissioners, Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, and Commissioners Justice Nyangaya, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, protested and insisted that the results should be changed in light of the NSAC delegation communication. That Commissioners Masit and Wanderi were of the view that the results should be pushed towards a rerun, which in their view would be a win-win situation. Commissioner Professor Gulie questioned how that will be done, to which Vice Chair Cherera suggested that the margin is not too big, could be manipulated by moving 233, 211 votes from Honorable Ruto to reject ballots category. From my observation of the position taken by Commissioners Juliana Cherera, Justice Nyangaya, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, it appeared that they had a pre-arranged consensus about altering the results. Commissioners Professor Gulia and Molu insisted that the commission should act strictly in accordance to the Constitution and the law. Additionally, the press statement by the chief agent of Azimio La Umoja and the one issued by the vice chair of IEBC, Juliana Cherera, in the presence of the other three commissioners, minutes apart, on the 15th of August 2022, was a twin statement. It was strikingly similar, birthed from the same intent. Additionally, the presser issued by the presidential candidate of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya on the 16th of August 2022 was another twin, was strikingly similar with one issued by the 4 commissioners of IEBC on the same day. From the above, it is clear that the 4 commissioners, with one faction of the presidential candidates and their agents, and that they had a pre-arranged, well-coordinated, deliberate effort to subvert the will of the people in this nation. In view of the foregoing, I pray, Honorable Chair, that the National Assembly do look attentively and carefully, consider the background facts given above, by myself towards the removal of the 4 commissioners of IEBC and make a finding that the 4 commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, the IEBC Act, the Leadership and Integrity Act, the Public Officers Ethics Act, and their conduct in performance of their duties as commissioners in the 2022 presidential elections demonstrates and amounts to serious violations of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and incompetence, as I have read on the grounds of removal on Article 251. I am now going to read essentially what it is that the charge sheet, which has particulars, and the law that was contravened. Grounds for removal of the commissioners.
5 minutes.
I pray that, Honorable Chair, you kindly give me 10 minutes, because even the letter that you sent to me, Honorable Chair, said 1 hour. I indeed have
Thank
practiced.
you. I will not curtail you in any way. You have one full hour, so you have another 15 minutes.
Thank you.
20 minutes now, because you still have your 5 minutes. 20 minutes, and as you move along,
Yes.
You read some certain provisions.
Correct.
And you would underline certain words.
Yes.
Can you try to tie that, the underlining and what you're reading?
Okay. I need to read the grounds for removal, Honorable Chair. I believe that you have considered my petition, my request for 10 minutes. Thank you, sir. Number 1 is serious violations of the Constitution and the law. The commissioners demonstrated partiality and biased conduct by agreeing to the proposal to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate, or in the alternative to force a runoff contrary, as you have requested me to tie. Articles 10, Articles 72, B and C, 73, 2, B and C, Article 75, Article 138, Article 232, Article 239 of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, Sections 9, Section 26, Section 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. By agreeing to the incentives and giving in to proposal by the NSAC to alter the results of the presidential elections, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, Article 73, 2, B, C, Article 75, 138, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 926, Section 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act. C, by disowning the results of the 2022 presidential elections, which the commissioners had participated in the verification and tallying, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, 73, 2B, C, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Ethics Act. By accepting the proposal to alter the results of the elections to subvert the will of the people of Kenya, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to, again, Article 10, Article 73, 2, B and C, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 9, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act. By issuing press statements, as I have indicated earlier, that there was synchrony between Serena and KICC statements, by issuing press statements with close semblance with the press statements by Azimio la Umoja One presidential candidate, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, Article 73, 2, B and C, 75, 239, 249, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 17 of the Public Officers Public Officer Ethics Act. By failing to follow the well set out guidelines for the verification, tallying, and announcement of the presidential elections, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Articles 10, 73 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Sections 9 and 26 and 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. The second charge is on gross misconduct. A, by concurring to support the unlawful attempt to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate, or in the alternative to force a runoff, the commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to section Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the COK 2010, sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. B, of the gross misconduct by acting in liaison with one faction of the presidential elections. The commissioners committed gross violations of the Constitution and the law contrary to Article 10, 73 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act, Public Officer Ethics Act, by refusing to follow the well set out guidelines for the verification and tallying announcement of the presidential election. The commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, by swearing affidavits in support of petitions challenging the presidential elections. The commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public and Officers Act. Third charge, incompetence. By agreeing to the proposal to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate or in alternative to force a runoff, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 138, 10A, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, Section 26 and 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officer and Ethics Act. B, by failing to follow the set out guidelines of the verification and tallying announcement of the presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Article 10, 72, 73, 2BC, 75, 138, 10A, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 9, 26 and 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12 and 17 of the by swearing affidavits in support of the petitions challenging the presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Article 10, 73B, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 9, 26 and 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16 and 17 of the Public Public Officers Ethics Act. By disowning the results of the 2022 presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated gross incompetence contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the COK 2010, Sections 9, 26 and 30 of the IEBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act. By contravening and attending meeting purportedly to discuss and appoint counsels to represent the Commission in the presidential elections, you know as per law that only the CEO and the Secretariat has that role. The commissioners demonstrated gross incompetence, contrary to Articles 1073, 2BC 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IEBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, by attempting to appoint counsels to represent the Commission in the presidential elections. The Commissioners demonstrated incompetence. Articles 10, 73, 2, BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, and 30 of the IEBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. My prayers, these are my prayers, Honorable Chairman. Based on the foregoing, I pray that the petition be admitted and considered by the National Assembly. The National Assembly be satisfied, that the National Assembly be satisfied that the petition discloses, you're the investigating body, discloses sufficient grounds for removal of commissioners Juliana Cherera, the Vice Chair of the Commission, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, Justice Ngayaya of the IEBC under Article 251(1) of the Constitution of Kenya. And the National Assembly, upon making a finding be pleased to send the petition to the President for further action. Honorable Chair, that is my prayer. Thank you so much. I hope that I'm within your timeline. Even though it was a
another 50 minutes. That's what you've done. Thank you very much. 20 minutes to us. I think you need to sip some water because these members have some clarifications to be made, and therefore have a sip of water. Then I will give them a chance.
Thank you so much.
To seek clarification from you as regards your petition, but you have done quite well in it. Thank you very much. We can go on? Yes. The Vice Chair is going to have the first bite of the cherry. So, Vice Chair, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Reverend Thumbi.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair.
You began by enumerating that your family is a freedom-fighting family.
Correct.
Other than that, question number one, what else motivates you to present this petition?
Thank you very much.
That's my question number one.
Chair, point of order. Just a point of order or point of direction from your office, from your position, that we possibly do a round of questions as he takes notes and takes water, and then he'll now respond wholesomely.
Thank you. That is going to be the procedure. As you sip your water, they'll be asking questions. They will be seeking clarification. Really, they aren't cross-examining. They are not digging deeper into this than it is, but you need to clarify a few areas. So you may note as they continue.
So that is my question number one. Question number two, a greater part of your petition relies on the affidavit of Mr. Wafula Chebukati. The affidavit is so in support of the petition, in support of the response to the presidential petitions that had been filed at the Supreme Court. Now, you are relying on that affidavit. The facts therein stated are known to Mr. Wafula Chebukati. Do you yourself, as a person, do you have first-hand information about the facts in those affidavits? Because in my understanding, it would be difficult to rely on another person's information. And why would you want this committee to rely on that evidence? Why would you want this committee to rely on the evidence of Mr. Wafula Chebukati when Mr. Wafula Chebukati is not the one speaking to us?